obviously in that mid game where you're not going to get chunked out quite as hard, quite as quickly, and the ability for your cage to just hold people in place, and then you have just the nuke that other people can't match at that point in the game is pretty strong. So I know my eyes will be on that a little bit once, you've got 2 items on Jinx, 2 items on the Vigar, you've got Poppy and Set to play bounces. Like, I really enjoy what Rascal Jester pulled out with a little bit of creativity here. I just need to see whether it can match up against the significantly more standard stuff that Hawks have drafted, because, they've got their own options. They've certainly got the damage. It's just a matter of seeing whether they can play through some of the unusual answers that Rascal Jesters have, I feel.
I mean, those unusual answers are gonna be that Veigar. It's gonna be this kind of, Poppy jungle. Like last time, we used to see Poppy jungle from time to time, but it's normally when you have terrain-based champions, like a Jarvan somewhere, or a Taliyah, or some way of actually setting up for the terrain that they can make it throughout the game. I remember we saw a lot of Taliyah Poppy bot for a period of time, just because it was that kind of cheese bot lane that had really nice synergy baked into itself. We haven't got that for the Jesters here, so Hachimech is going to have to find those good angles, find the walls, find the terrain around that he can actually benefit from. Obviously, though, in this early stages, Blank should be getting a pretty early head start against Poppy, though, in the jungle farming place. They can rotate straight through. I mean, honestly, when you just kind of have a look at just the general game state, I'm going to be very interested to see which is one of these lanes that really opens up, because outside of this bot laning, you've got a mild advantage with the Jinx over the Aphelios with range. It's not really... It's honestly, this is a really even game. Initialized. This is a very even game state. A lot of the lanes are very 50-50 matchup worthy.
Yeah, for sure. You could see Blitzcrank there. Blitzcrank-san offering a 5% advantage over to sides of the Hawks. Got that 55% win potential, at least off the stats that the robot of the LJL has managed to acquire. But I kind of tend to agree with you, and honestly, I like a little bit of a cheese option here. I was chatting with Nightmare, of course, and he was talking with a few of the pro players, sort of around sort of NLC Div 1, Div 2, some of the things they'd run in the past, and like Poppy Vigar as a combo is disgusting. But even as a bot lane duo, because Vigar puts down the cage and Poppy charges you into it, it's just an Nivea Poppy all over again.
It really is.
It's so nasty. So like for all the AI is like, yeah, I'm not sure about these. There's some synergies here for Rascal Jester that I think makes this a lot. Like honestly, maybe it's just because I enjoy the slight creativity of it. I think I'd probably prefer Rascal Jester's comp. I'm not sure where you're at, Lexi.
I don't know. Whenever I see Aphelios, I always feel like there's always just a factor. There's always that background factor. But
it's also your boy Marble playing it.
Yes, it's also Marble playing it. And that's a player I'd love for us to highlight for a split second, because this guy is coming into if you look at the lineup, every other player kind of has a lot to prove on the Hawks side of the Hawks. Kunatu made the finals in his rookie season. Obviously on Rascal Jester going all the way, even making it through the Juggernaut match and everything. Never actually got the W because DFM were DFM, but obviously pretty big. Blank returning back to us. Dasher, MVP caliber player. Reiner went to Worlds and was arguably one of the best ones. Marble came off of an undefeated run in Academy and then picked straight up by the Hawks. How insane is that?
I just want to look over the guy's stats recently as you were chatting about it. It's like, wow. And it's like, he has one competitive loss in his career period, and that was like the game on... Friday. There we go. Took me a moment to remember the days of the week. There we go. That's a bad sign. Esports life, where days of the week mean nothing to you, only whether there are games playing or not. Casting life. Anyway, but yeah, aside from that, this guy has been undefeated. He is 12-1 all time. Yes, a lot of those were Academy games, but the guy has been a real star pickup, I think is the phrase we're looking for. This guy we've got a lot of hopes for. He's that kind of rookie wonder kid we're looking to see a lot out of, as Dasher gets a big chunk onto a recap in mid lane, but of course there is the teleport to allow a bit of a reset. In fact, you've got a little bit of an engaging bot side as the turnaround coming through from both of these supports, making that one a relatively even trade. And back to Marble, this is a guy who we've got a lot of high hopes for, who was the kind of star of this incredible V3 Academy team that's now made their way to being not just an Academy team, but the main team for V3, but sans Marble.
Yes, and I think that's going to be a very important thing. Obviously, that is going to be a narrative point for us, ladies and gentlemen, just to see Marble versus Rascal versus V3. See how it goes. Blank, he's been caught out here.
That cage was genius, and now that's so many stuns for Blank. He's going to try and get it to Rico, flashing away, but Blank has got a 3 talents, right? First blood comes through, and the Triumph feed is going to make it very difficult. Hachimetra does get at least 1 kill back, but he's got the mana, and Dash has got none left. He just needs to get one more wall bang, but does not be able to get it. The heroic charge out of, or rather on cooldown, so no way to get that. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of HAWKS. Summoners burnt from literally everybody in that little 2v2 skirmish in mid.
Yep, and the support players wanted to get involved in some capacity, so they did support to combat. That was crazy huge, but that box, as you perfectly put at the very beginning, changed the dynamics on this fight. Dasher had no mana for most of this fight, so a huge amount of this damage is just done through Dasher auto attacks. And if I could actually have a counter going, I'd love to, because obviously this block cancels the back. It also prevents Dasher from getting his full combo in. So then it comes around and it's just like, Blank, what can you do? They find it. Obviously, Hachimetra, we know how this goes now, but this was just so well played from the side of the HAWKS to actually just kind of enable so many micro auto attacks, not canceling 1 or 2 of those autos. Could have been the difference between going parity and then maybe not actually even getting the kill onto Hachimetra. 1-on-1 would have been dire for the HAWKS in that scenario, because if you're Rascal Jester, you're like, yeah, no, we can scale, we can just play around, this is okay, we've got Veigar going. Especially when you look at the CS department of these 2 mid laners, Dasher is definitely coming out on top on the early game. It's going to be important for Recap to try and find those good angles and options. And I mean, if that cage is a sign of things to come, Initialize, you're going to be rewarded very well.
I completely agree, and in fairness, the only thing I will call out there that is big, because, you know, Dasher, this superstar for the HAWKS, who has been so good, but kind of stuck 1v9ing a lot over the last couple years, it has been his ability to just win lanes like this. It's another return gank in mid. Now Recap has been forced out of lane 3 times in a row. He teleports back in, he dies in a 2v1 or a 2v2, he now dies in a 3v1, and the HAWKS in this early game so much more proactive than we saw on Friday. Blank and Dasher pairing up in a way we were hoping for when we saw this roster.
Yeah, and this time the HAWKS are not even playing around Kinatsu. They're actually they're going, you know what? No advantage is found there. Let's go through and try and find it somewhere else. It's going through this mid lane, and oh my god, Marble, that's just a clean combo. Get the max damage through. He's probably gonna, no, he's not gonna reset. He's recently gone back. So, hey, why not just push out the lane, make sure that they can't get more turret plates? And he's against Soul, which is not going to be an easy matchup. This is not a player who's going to be more kind to you.
This could be a bit of turnaround here, as that's a Super Mega Death Rocket, but the Graviton Binding Eclipse does buy space. I think if that hadn't been there was a flash for a rocket or 2, and that would have been a very dead Aphelios, but gonna be just okay. He's down about a wave or so, of course. Sol, exceptional, secret, exceptional, and that has caused some trouble, but it's the mid lane where a lot of this bleeding has happened. 0-2 and 1 is Recap, down 30 CS. You got a 2-0-1 Orianna, who is absolutely a big win condition in this game. If you could start with all these melee champions between the Poppy, the Set, even the Tryndamere, where you can just hit them all with a big ultimate, you've got a very nice setup as Hachimetra, just looking to be obnoxious around Kinatsu here, dashing over the wall to cause him some trouble, and the Herald's been started, and we might be due a little bit of a fight, but Rascal Jester's just deciding, yeah, we really don't want this one.
Yeah, and what's interesting to also identify is Soul's going back now. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a lane swap coming out now from top to bot. See if they want to play around and set up for the next one. No, they're just going to reset and go back. I'm a little surprised that we saw Soul going back at the same time to match Secret as well going back, but he didn't hit an item spike or anything, so he just a surprising back from me. I thought we were going to see some cool things happening Initialize. I wanted some cool stuff to happen, but it didn't happen. As it currently stands, though, Dasher is definitely coming out on top of this mid lane now. Recap looks like he is struggling in the CS department, considering that Dasher is on about 10 CS per minute. Recap is,
I mean, that's what you get for
7.
being forced out of lane 3 times, right? Like, he had to back a little early, having been chunked out. He teleported back in. He dies in that 2v2.
But he's just been struggling with the laning
he dies
phase.
again. That's like a solid 2-3 waves you lose as a result of those plays. So, for all, yeah, that's sad for Recap, and there's certainly some things I'm sure he'll want to go back and VOD review. I want to give credit over to the HAWKS as well, right? Like, they played that early game really well. They got proactive. They've got the veteran superstar of their team in a great position as Dasher is put into the cage, but no real way to follow up his hatch matcher. Didn't feel like burning the flash to get onto that, and now a little bit of a turnaround. There's the phase rush coming through, but going to be just fine. He'll be heading down towards the spot side river. Remember, with Blank, with the Herald inventory, could definitely look to get something occurring on the bot side of this map, as he is going to spot out this Poppy, who throws down the Steadfast Presence and will have a hammer, but decides against it. We're left with just a little bit of skirmishing and tension drawing in that bot side of the map.
Always weird when a Graves considers proxy farming and a Tryndamere. It's always a weird game when that's considering going through the brain. But anyway, that's not going to happen. It looks like most of our players are actually just going to reset around. Dragon does look like it's got about 45 seconds left on it. We don't have a timer, so I can't guess, but when the gray comes up, it's normally not too far away. Herald being put down. That looks like it's going to be first turret going around. It's just a little early because we haven't got this dragon, so it's going to be important to see who gets priority.
Ooh, wow, that's a lot of gold now onto Dasher. That's 4 plates. You need a whole tower this early on in the game. You can see it in the gold lead.
Only 11 minutes.
That's exactly 1,500 gold. A lot of that will be in the mid jungle. You can just see exactly where it is. There's some bit of a discrepancy in bot where Sol has managed to do really well to get ahead of the laners of Secret.
Dasher, don't go back. Dasher, don't go back if you want this dragon.
They don't. He's got teleport. He'll be just fine. They've got the ward over the wall, and honestly, with everyone else on the reset from Rascal Jester, I think he'll be okay. And considering he's got Ludens off that back, probably worth an attempt, even if it might force the teleport to make him come back in. He did just teleport to mid lane, so he is around, and no way to stop that one. A Secret just went beyond. No. Blank looking to see whether it's a showstopper angle. Is sort of one there. Gets a big face breaker at the end of it all. Remember, Blank's got that Crescent Guard doing a lot to buy space and time. Hatchemetcha into the wall, but look at that cage doing so much work. Blank over the wall survives the primordial burst, and Rascal Jesters go in, but don't get as much as they were done. Now Dasher in a 1v3, throwing out the shockwave and getting a lot of damage down, but Jester's burnt a lot there, didn't manage to even get a single kill as they lose the mid lane turret as well as all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, a huge amount of why that went so good reasonably, well, for most of that fight for the Jesters until the very end is Hatchemetcha just poppy ulted Dasher immediately out of the fight before the skirmish began. And it allowed them to kind of play all these angles. I mean, Blank went incredibly low on that Xin Zhao, and it looked rather concerning for them for a period of time. Might be like, okay, we're going to have to trade something for something here, though. Looks like they're considering and thought the better of it because Vryna was back into this lane, so they're going to reset. But it's completely based on Hatchemetcha why that fight could have gone better. Sadly, they weren't able to find it, and that was an angle where they really needed to find at least one kill. They needed to find something there, either a kill onto Dasher, kill onto Hatchemetcha, or a kill onto, rather, probably Sol, because just get gold on. And I mean, actually, that's the point now, right? We need to start getting gold onto Recap. We need to start getting gold onto Sol now, because these are two of their main carries here, and it's not like this Tryndamere is going to do much. Like, I know split push, side lane, pressure. That's their goal. That's their job. And Kinatsu's is kind of prevent that and then try and deal with the issue.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Like, obviously, like this Graves has gone for a hull breaker first to boost as well, like to really index into. I need to be able to manage this Tryndamere, who is notorious at that 1-2 item mark, be able to run down whoever he is in the side lane. But I think that's really smart. What's the word? Itemization there from the Graves. We do hit a pause. Sadness for us here on the cast, but it does give us a little bit more time. It looks like I know and Kinatsu both ran Ghost at some points. There's been a little bit of skirmishing going on there, so I'm kind of right. Like, this Tryndamere that's supposed to be a win condition in the side lane. I think at least what will happen is the fact that Kinatsu has built that hull breaker, has built towards the steel caps. It's at least delaying the inevitability of a Tryndamere in a side lane. And at that by that point, you've delayed to the point where there's Orianna already at 2-0-1. We've already got that first out, that first Drake. It gives you more space to breathe and allow those carries to scale, rather. And that will be interesting to see whether they can pull it off. I mean, on the other side for Rascal Jesters, they've got some work to be doing here, I feel, Lexi. Like, yes, you've got nearly 4 plates onto Sol, but he's going to have a hard time, I feel like, getting a lot of this work done if these fights keep happening the way they are.
I completely agree. It is on the Jesters now to be the proactive team. They need to be not only proactively finding things, they need to be better at reacting. Because honestly, the Hawks have been controlling the tempo of this game, and it's not particularly fast when we're only 40 minutes in, and like we've got 2 dragons, 4 kills in total, 1 turret. They've unlocked Dasher. They unlocked Dasher extremely early on. But then other than that, Soul and Secret have kind of had control of the bot lane territory for most of this game. They've been at least able to funnel some gold, but just Marble hasn't fallen far behind. But Reiner here.
Could be in a spot of ball, of course. Does have the dredge line and manages to buffer out of the face breaker. Always nice. A little bit of a, like who draws first situation, right? Where if you dredge line before the face breaker comes through, you get pulled out of it. But if you face breaker first, just the dredge line's going through before it connects to a tower, you're in bad news. So it's even tower plates across the borders. Actually, both top laners managed to secure a couple plates themselves. But that's the big difference here being the plates cashed in mid. The only difference is that a couple of those plates weren't collected by the looks of that gold total for the side of Hawks. Hachimecha and Secret, though, going on a bit of a roam to see whether they can get on top of Kinatsu and maybe contest this Herald.
Yeah, and that's also why when you just say that, if you assume ideal circumstances, that's at least over 400 gold over into Soul's pocket as well that he has over Marble. So with a wave, or about a wave or so of advantage he's had as well, that's about 500-600 worth of gold that he's just there. That's where one of those daggers is just coming from. Just raw dagger power for Soul at the moment. I don't feel like that's going to trend on, but I mean, it's going to be important around this next Herald fight, as currently Kanatsu pulled out that lane. They've got a whole wave going around, so the Hawks should be looking to try and gain full control because I know it's nowhere near.
Lordy lord, there's the shockwave coming through. Secret gets pulled in as well. Now comes the rest of the Hawks looking to contest in. It's a good cage though to disengage. And Sol is down the flash, so is Secret, but they don't fall down. It does force a reset out of the AD carry though, and that surely gives Hawks free reign to start up this Rift Herald.
And what a huge shockwave from Dasher. That was mental. Like, not fair, mate.
That is old school season 3 Orianna strats for you. Stand in that kind of bush and wait for people to walk in and just shockwave over the wall. Assassin Orianna strategies versus old school supports.
And it's been good since season 3. Season 2, really, when a world champion player of an Orianna one trick for, well, he wasn't really bad, but
he played a lot of Orianna.
Played a lot. Well, he made it. Toys made it famous, that Orianna during that Worlds in season 2. That was the one which changed my life on Orianna. It made me see the light that was a robotic woman. Don't know where I should be going with that one, but
I know
going for aggressive play.
I know we're cast the LJL, and therefore some anime references are expected. But that that kind of like Android 18 style reference, not really what I was expecting this early on a morning on a Sunday, as we've got ourselves a dragon start, and Secret's into the back line, gonna try and pull them all in. That's into the cage as well. Poppy steadfast press do a lot of work, but the turnaround beginning to come through. I know though is undyingly angry. Get on top of Blank as well, and the Hawks get flanked beautifully by Secret. But can that collateral damage finish off who they need it to? It will not. And they'll be able to get a hold of a dragon and manage to bring this game back to a significantly more even standpoint. Only 1,000 gold down now.
Oh man, you would love to have a stopwatch if you were Dasher in this one, because it's all about Secret. He's the man of this one and goes straight onto Dasher. Yes, there's an immediate flash straight out, but it doesn't matter because look at where the rest of the team are. They're just getting CC chained, and that's all she wrote. Marble on the back line is trying his absolute best. The problem was, he wasn't in position at the very, very beginning of this fight. Missed maybe a little bit of DPS, which I don't think would have been a huge effect really throughout this fight. They weren't able to pick anything up, and the Jesters took full control. Secret, take a bow, and while recap, you didn't have the best cage. It looked a lot better because actually what that cage did is it prevented them from coming in to the side of the Jesters from the Hawks angle, rather than actually normally playing the opposite side, which is it's trying to cage people in, trying to make them feel awkward. Actually, it did the opposite. It played defensively for them. It allowed the Jesters to gain full control of that team fight. They won it. They got the dragon. Hawks are going to try and respond as best as possible, though, on the resets.
They have got that Herald they picked up earlier. It will get them another tower, which will take them ahead in that tower game. Of course, they already got the mid lane turret. Recap getting a shove on in that top side. He, of course, not the fastest tower taker without a little bit more AP, as I know, is here. Going to see Kanatsu face checking, but Blank is around. That means I don't think he's going to want this fight. Here comes Hachimecha, alongside the rest of the Jesters to try and stall this push. Dasher over the side as well as Marble and Reiner take the opportunity to get a wave shoved in mid lane, while the Jesters did sort of cycle their way over towards that bot lane tier 2. They do manage to clear out the wave, but lose a bit of a chunk on the mid lane turret as a result.
But they're still not gonna stop. They get that turret. I know it's still pushed up, and if you look at where Secret is, he's just currently using his Hex Flash. He goes all the way around the map. Soul has just cleared out Raptors, and the rest of the Rascal Jesters are still just trying to get stock of after they just got that winning team fight. They remember they won the last team fight, and now they're just getting immediately thrown back into that. Herald from the side of the Hawks was great at kind of preventing the tempo, really changing the momentum of this game for the side of the Rascal Jesters. There's still a 1k gold lead over on the side of the Hawks. They're still pushing their advantages. They've got the tower advantage at the moment. And if you look at where this map is set up, you absolutely know for a fact the Hawks are planning to play the long game with this one now. They have to be to a degree, because if you look at the Dragon, you look at the Soul, and you look at the towers that they've taken, they're going to be pushing in deep, get that deep vision along the bot red side of the Rascal Jesters, and they can just play around that. And then whenever they feel like they need to, they've got they've only got single TP. So if anyone's going to have to be playing side lane pressure, it's going to have to be Dasher. Because remember, Kanatsu, as you highlighted in that pick and ban phase initialized, he went for Ghost. Doesn't really feel like it's done much this game so far. We're still going to have to wait for those big Ghost moments, you know, where the Graves gets to run down the whole team.
It's that, but remember, he's gone for that hull breaker build. He's all about the side laning, and again, it's looking like we've got like naval warfare actually between the top lanes. Zyno has also gone for that hull breaker to match.
Split the map.
Exactly, and then the thing is that Ghost is it's more to counter the Tryndamere, as far as I've been told, led to understand, is the fact that when Tryndamere pops the Ghost, you need to pop the Ghost as well in order to be able to match the movement speed and escape effectively. And when he's spinning slashes, you quick draw, and you can manage to keep the same distance. And that's the idea, is that those summons are likely being kept basically purely for each other. You don't want to run them in the team fights if you can help it, so you can play out the side lanes a bit more safely. And so my eyes do inevitably turn for the Jesters a little bit to like, okay, can you hold on around these objectives with your kind of command and control comp? And then on top of that, what can you get done on a side lane with this 2-item Tryndamere, who has not gone towards Navori Quickblade Second, not gone towards crit, he's gone towards the Hull Breaker for pure split pushing power.
Yeah, well, and that pure split pushing power, let's see how it's going to work out, because neither of our two top laners have actually been able to push out a wave. This Dragon's going to be coming up in about 45 to 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have a timer. It's all about looking at the little mini map in our screens and trying to remember when it goes grey, you get a minute.
Maximum,
that's
something like that. Yes, it's grey is a minute, yellow is 15 seconds. Hachimecha being chased out of the jungle by Kanatsu as well. And the important thing here, I think it's worth noting, is yes, I know on that side, definitely on a bit of a flank angle here, seeing whether there's some options. More important on top of that as well is the fact that the Hawks definitely have control over this river. And remember last year, Lexi, how many times did the two of us say the Hawks could not set up vision around objectives? Thus far, doing a pretty good job of at least holding on to some control. There are some walls in front of that Dragon Pit that means Rascal Jester can see what's going on, as Kanatsu will face check too. That's an Ignite coming down as well. But here come the rest of the Hawks to try and turn the front. Hachimecha onto Reiner on the back end of this. Aina has got the Undying Rage, hasn't had to use it quite yet. The rest of the fight continuing. Secret getting a massive showstopper into that event horizon, but there's just not enough burst. And Jesters being forced out of here with a couple summons. Another cage coming down from Recap, which is continuing to be really obnoxious with all of it done. Aino's going to have to reset. He doesn't have teleport. Undying Rage was popped, and this should surely be the Hulk to take in a 4v5.
Dasher still has ult. Aphelios still has ult. There's still a lot of ults to play around with. Most of the big ones aren't here, but Aino is coming back in this fight.
He's going to have another option on the side. Remember, there's no teleport, though. That is the keeper's vote to keep people out, and that means the Drake secured because there is no smite. And yes, there was no one dead. Yes, they got the chunk onto the top laner, but no, they did not secure the dragon because Poppy had a hammer to knock people out of there.
That was so well played from Hachimecha to find it onto Blank to actually get the push there. But are they going to lose something, though, even with getting that play? That's the question.
Might still lose this mid lane tier 2. It's being taken pretty low as Blank has to start thinking about getting out of this cage. Takes a fair chunk, but he's tanky enough at this point with a Warden's Mail, additional piece of armor, those Merc Treads as well. That's not a damage Jin's Zhao build, that's not a Sterax. That's just raw defensive stats after the quartering, yeah.
I mean, that's also just fancy footsteps from Blank and from Ino. Honestly, both of these two players are Blank not taking too much damage in that cage. Ino just popping that goes really early on and matching it. But I think this is where you just have to look at Hatchemecha and just go, look at him. He's not attacking and they're just out of vision and they're playing that game. Like, there was no way for Blank to react to that. No way. Outside of just having fifth sense vision, or if they were able to secure vision inside the dragon pit. That would be the only one. Something though I would like to move on to though, because I think this is far more important, and it relates to that first big team fight we saw, which Rascal Jesters came out on top of, and with Dragon Soul Point on the cards, I think it's going to be a good one. Dasher finally has a stopwatch. That's going to be very important, because you remember when they went for that big play on Secret, it was straight onto Dasher, and a huge amount of the damage has been taken out. We're still waiting for Marble. We're still waiting for Kanatsu, these two young players of the Japanese league to really pop off. I have to wait and see if they're able to find it.
Nasty! They get a huge pick onto Reiner, but now the turnaround might be going through his Ino. Onto Kinatu, gets a solo kill on the side lane. Trendemir online. It's a 2 for none for the Jesters around the map. Top lane, or the bot lane, find the top laners, and the mid lane pick coming through for the Jesters. Great stuff from them, but I don't know whether they'll be able to secure too much more off it.
Well, I mean, Ino still gets to free push, and unless anyone goes and responds to him, he's just going to start pushing into their base. That's a serious concern that the Hawks are going to have to deal with. And look at this, Dasher has had to rotate around, so this actually gives them the option to actually start looking at, if they wanted to, this Baron as we come into this replay. The big one is just this cage. Like, the cage into the CC combo chain. Reiner just has no way to respond to this. Really nice attempt from Secret there, but I mean, it's just cage. It's just Recap did good cage. Thumbs up as we come into this Baron fight. Ino is behind them and he's taking that mid lane farm, but you guys don't want to be on the opposite side. You don't want to attack them when the Trindamere has Ghost but has no ult. So if they're gonna do it, they need to do it when Ino has no ult. Or if they're gonna do anything, maybe just do this Baron. I'm not against them just doing this.
It might be a bit of a counter Baron option, seeing whether there's some resets. Yeah, they are going to do this.
I like this.
Of course, Jesters didn't actually reset, so this will now be a 4v5.
Look at how quickly they're taking it.
Ino's not going to be there, remember. Secrets around the side. Yeah, they are going to be able to make this a fight, but Hatchemecha only has got the Keeper's Verdict, needs to knock people out of the pit. Doesn't really hit onto it. That's a big deal. Actually, I take it back. That is Blank knocked out, but a big turnaround onto the jungler of the Jesters. Hatchemecha down for the count. Kinatsu taken pretty low. Ino going to the backside. It will be the Primordial Burst that secures it. Oriana is the one that gets the Baron, but can they get out of the fight as Ino running through as many people as he can? The Barbarian King on a rampage. Recap trying to hump forward. Here comes Secret looking for the flank. Marble gets past the event horizon but needs to survive. The Binding Eclipse keeps Dasher alive, but that will be 4 dead in trade for that Baron. It's a messy one, I think, Lexi.
I mean, honestly, Ino played freaking MVP of that. Pop the Ghost, pop the Ultimate, took so much damage from the side of the Hawks. And survived and got multiple kills throughout that skirmish. Just absolutely having a stellar performance. I'm getting Nocturne vibes from Ino right now. You know when he had that pop-off Nocturne game and controlled the pace of it? Feeling that again. Honestly, we have to begin out with Hatchemecha immediately taking out Blank into this team fight and rotating it around. Yeah, he takes a lot of it, but it actually prevents this Baron from going down. It actually prevents a lot of what the side of the Hawks wanted to do. Now you just watch Ino. This is the Ino show now. Begins out with Hatchemecha, ends off with Ino, and that's 2 Japanese players jostling to be the best in their role at the moment. And hey, they're putting up caliber performances where you could at least see it at the moment in time. Yeah, this is really nice from Marble. Obviously, he's able to chain a lot of abilities and a bunch of stuff. Words escaped me there because that's how good Marble was. But even then, it's still a 1-for-1. Soul got the pickup on it. And this Jinx is now 3 items.
Time to replace an S with a U, because we've got ourselves a Dragon Soul fight coming up. This will be the Hextech Soul for Rascal Jesters, who've got that massive soul point to play around. Dragon's been started. Ino has also been spotted on a flank here. Can HAWKS find a way to deal with all of the CC, all of the zone control? They've got to watch out for Secret, watch out for Ino on the flanks. It is a death ball from the HAWKS. That shockwave the last time at the Baron pit forced Sol to flash. If that had landed, it might have been a very different fight. This time, Dasher needs to be looking for a bigger ultimate, as that is a decent chunk there for the Super Mega Death Rocket. Secret as well, charging the Hex Flash. Ino over the wall, potential options still. That will be continued fighting. That's the cage on to 2, but it's a turnaround of the Hachimechi, who's in trouble. Recap's gone golden, but he needs to stay alive. Has to flash away from the wind, becoming lightning. Secret's into the backside, and the Sol has been excited. He can start running people down. Needs to get some kills. Ino undying in his absolute fury. Kinatu over the wall will be able to get a shutdown onto the Tryndamere. Dragon resets. Secret is pulled back in. I pull Sol. I apologize. Will be taken off as that binding eclipse gets another marble. Show Sol how it's done.
They found the angles, they weathered the storm, and the fact that Ino found a decent spot to go in, but the rest of his team had been chunked so low at the beginning of that fight, they weren't able to find the angles, and the HAWKS just completely turn it. Also, the ult from Blank in that fight, I think prevented over 5,000 worth of damage. I'm being a bit over-exaggerating,
I
obviously.
think we've got ourselves a bit of an ending attempt here. There's a lot of death time as Secret and Hachimechi needs to do a lot of work here to hold the waves in place. Hachimechi went in to try and clear as much of it as he can. Secret face-breaking the wave as well, trying to pull them away from the Nexus towers, and will do so. HAWKS will be unable to end right now, but now Secret in a difficult position. Needs to find a way past Kinatu, but of course, he is pretty tanky as this set. Will burn the flash and will be able to retreat out from that flanking maneuver. Heroics from Hachimechi and Secret to hold on to that. What is nice attempt on the steal there.
But I mean, as we come into this replay, a huge amount of this, obviously, Reiner gets taken very low, and actually they stutter this initiation from Reiner because he flashes forward, misses the dreadline, gets the Urgot, but it doesn't matter because Sol isn't in this fight for the first beginning part, and then Blank just ultimates immediately and does this. Look at Ino. For so long, he's not got a good spot, then he goes in, and he's like, oh man, you guys aren't quite going in at the same time. It's so discoordinated from the side of the Jesters. I mean, huge shotgun gold also goes over, as you mentioned previously, but now when it gets down to this, like, who of the Jesters can do anything at that moment in time? It was so uncoordinated from them, which outside of this, most of this game hasn't really been the case. They've always been on the front foot. It seemed like when they stuttered a little bit, the Jesters fumbled and the HAWKS picked it up beautifully. It's also great to see that some of the more key members that need to start picking up more gold and more kills, they're actually getting that. Kinatu obviously is now level 16. Multiple items have come out as well. Marble 15, Dasher 16. It's starting to come together for the HAWKS. Has inevitability hidden, and you've mentioned this. Obviously, this Veigar, 2-item champion. He's up to that 3-item point now, and he's got a broken stopwatch. It's not terrible. And no.
Veigar's scales, it's like he does. Like, don't get me wrong, Veigar's damage is going to continue to be really, really obnoxious the later this game goes. It's just like you saw in that fight, you could chunk him out, and actually, Dash as well got to hit a shockwave onto the flashless Sol. He didn't get to escape the shockwave this time. It did shut him down despite him being excited. That kind of thing here is Secret's going to get pulled back, does have the Haymaker though to buy some space. The Moonlight Vigil not quite going to be enough. And Rascal Jester has managed to retreat, but with Baron coming up shortly, it will definitely give the HAWKS opportunity to set up control. I know when Kinatu in the side lane though, gonna be a continued struggle right now as the mocking shout comes through. Ino's gonna be able to start chunking out this inhibitor tower, and there's no way Disgraves at this point in the game can deal with the Tryndamere.
No one on the side really of the HAWKS can single-handedly deal with it. Maybe if Blank was like level 18 and 3 items, 4 items, maybe Xin Zhao. But honestly, Tryndamere at this game point, this is what he's meant to do. This is the whole reason you play the champion. He's hit level 18 now. He's not going to get much stronger now.
He's just going to take out this inhibitor. There's nothing you can do to stop him. And Ino takes out the inhibitor turret, and Rascal Jester say, okay, we'll start the Baron then. Give it a go. You really want to go into all of our damage, all of our zone control around here. And the HAWKS, yes, they got the win. Yes, they got the inhibitor turret. Yes, they tried to look for the end, but they didn't. And now they're in a bit of a bind where they've lost an inhibitor as well, where they've got this Tryndamere who can play the sideline out like this and be a constant, like, nuclear threat in this bot lane, saying, yeah, if you leave, we can just hit the big red button and your base is completely destroyed.
Yes, absolutely. But they've also got the inevitability factor of hey, we've still got Soul Point in our back pocket. Like, the Jesters genuinely still have maybe best Soul outside of Elder, obviously, on the table still for them to still get. With a Tryndamere as well, Hex Tech Soul, geez, that's a bit destructive for a lot of teams to have to deal with. However, obviously the Hawks would love to get that because it would actually help greatly with preventing a Tryndamere from relentlessly running you down and chopping your bits. As the game currently stands, 35 minutes in, though, we are at a game point where it feels like either team could still break this open and honestly end the game with one big push. It feels rather even and competitive. As you've mentioned, both teams have inhibitors. We're currently seeing a 5v4 for the side of the Hawks, as Ino is in that top lane at the moment, and I'm surprised that the side of the Hawks aren't just like running at the side of Rascal Jester.
They're just trying to see whether they can hold control over this Dragon Pit. It would put them to Soul Point as well. Secret Spin, pulled back in by that Shockwave, but the wall prevents him from being pulled too much further. And you're right, there is Ino taking away this top lane tier 2. He is level 18, 4 items. Kinatsu secures the Dragon. And that puts both teams now at Soul Point.
We're going to have a 40-minute game where we're fighting over a Dragon Soul.
I think we might be.
Is that our opening game of the LJL initialized for both of us?
But look, with where the waves are at, the Hawks are in a difficult position. Kinatsu with no teleport has to deal with that bot lane wave. And Jesters have started up this Baron. Where is Blank? Can he find his way in to look for a steal? Moonlight Vigil goes wide. Dash over the side, gonna look for a steal, and Ino secures that somehow, some way. Hachimachi didn't even smite, by the by.
Nope. No, didn't need to. Didn't have to risk it. I mean, I imagine his
I think he might have, because that was a command attack. That was a command attack dissonance coming over the wall there from Orianna. I was like, that's quite a lot of damage.
True. I mean, just maybe he had the confidence. Papa Mecha, you know, he's just got those instincts now. It's a bit of a different game for him now. He knows exactly what he's working with.
We're still with a gold lead that is within 1,000 gold right now. It feels like it's never gotten particularly excessive for either side. We're at Soul Point for each of these teams. We are at 6 towers to 6. The difference here, though, is now Jesters are the ones in the ascendancy with the Baron buff, with this Tryndamere that feels no one can deal with. It's going to get very, very scary, very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, 4 items for both of our mid laners at this moment in time. Soul has hit 4 items on Jinx. That is game ending point really in the game now, where if a Jinx gets to just hit 1 reset, game could be over in that 1 push. They've got Baron buff, they've got it for another minute and 40. I mean, if you're the Jesters here, you want to try and end this game off of this Baron, because if you have to play around the Dragon, you've just given the Hawks an extra few minutes to really stay in this game and maybe find an option back in, because if we hit up to 40 minutes, that's when the Dragon is going to be spawning. That's when the fight is going to have to break out, because Soul Point could change everything unless you're Ino and you're in a side lane.
It's a 1-4 split, but they've got super minions shoving in the bot side, do the Jesters. That means they have so much map pressure right now, as Kinatsu will be the recipient of a mocking shout, trying to back away from this Tryndamere. In the mid lane, the cage has come down, the tower falls, Soul gets excited. I can start looking for this inhibitor and trade.
They're going to keep pushing forward. They're going to be trying to poke out and just get rid of these minions. They just need to stave off and fend the Baron buff as long as they can for the side of the Hawks. I think it's close to impossible, though. Ino's getting caught out a little bit, but they're not going to be able to catch him because Ino is a Tryndamere, so you can just dash away whenever you feel like it. They're going to get 1 more hit on that. Soul has got that rapid fire cannon, so extra long range, super easy for them to take care of. Gets excited, removes that ward. Now they're going to rotate around and look to do the choke slam. They're just going to nuzzle you, and they're going to put you to sleep with the sleeper hold initialize. I don't know why I've got all of the wrestling moves going at the moment.
Because you got set, that's why. Yeah. And it is feeling a bit like a Tryndamere, this massive barbarian. He'd make for a great wrestler as well. That is now that mid lane inhibitor, all inhibitor turrets down. Ino heads back towards that bot lane inhibitor. The cage comes down as well. Hawks struggling to engage through that in the choke point that is their base. That's another inhibitor that dies. Cage comes down again. Rhino's trying to find his way through and can't. And the Jesters continuing now to choke Hawks out of this game. It's been a valiant effort in the mid game, but now at this point, with their base in shambles, with the Baron that's now finally run out, it's looking increasingly dire for the Hawks.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason for the side of Rascal Jester to even consider moving off until they can get this last one. Because look at where Ino is. They can play this game for as long as they want because what can Hawks do? What are they threatening? What do they have? Well, potentially a flank. Let's see what Blank can do.
He's going to find his way on, but only really lands a win, becomes lightning onto Hachimed, who has that steadfast presence, which means the Jin Zhao, no easy way in. Kinatsu has to try and deal with this Tryndamere. He's after the wave, not the Barbarian.
Oh, look at that. Rabadon's being brought in to really try and prevent any form of damage being put onto this Kinatsu. He's just going full tank now, grades items, because, hey, I mean, Tryndamere will either kill you or you just outlive their initial burst and then you can just respond back with your own of what you're going to be doing. Yeah, his ultimate has a finite number, but look at it. Looks like, oh, Hawks. Oh, God, you really want to play for this dragon, don't you?
Yeah, in fairness, I can understand why you might want to. The problem is they need to get these waves in order before they do it. Look, but their map, they're down 2 inhibitors. They're down that final inhibitor turret. And Rascal Jesters are going to be here on time. They are going to be able to set up with the Poppy, with the Veigar, with the set, and make this incredibly difficult. This would be Soul for them. They're going to teleport in, but it's just gone. It's too late. Blank's going to go in, but he's going to take so much damage. That formerly static Shiv ability doing as much work as they can. The slows, the sparking, chaining lightning damage, making things difficult. Dashes onto the side. He gets a good shockwave. He's not going to get any kills, so it's only onto 2 non-important members at this point in the game. As I know, into the backline, it's a 1v4 he goes into.
Marble.
He gets out until Marble gets one back around. Look at Sol, though, trying to trade forwards. Kinatsu goes over the wall, going to try and blow up as many people as he can. And maybe, just maybe, they've done it. Sol be damned. And I don't understand. Hawks find the fight there, despite what should have been a massive advantage. But now look at the base. They've got themselves super minions pouring in to come and deal with these Nexus turrets. And with at least 2 members remaining and Recap teleporting out, he gets away. Nexus turret plus Soul in trade for a 1 fight nominally for the Hawks. But it doesn't allow them to win the game, and they are still in a dire position.
Yeah, absolutely. And while this went great, because look at the side, Blank came in, pops his into ultimate, prevents a huge amount of damage from coming through. Great. Okay. So Rascal Jester have already got exactly what they were coming for now. This is them looking for something huge shockwave coming out. But where does it go so badly? Well, look at Ino. He's just in the middle, and this whole rest of this time, Recap can't really do anything. Secret can't really do anything. Hachimechi can't really do anything. It's honestly just Soul kind of going, okay, well, this random teammate of mine is kind of taking a lot of damage, so I'll try and get into a position where I can try and do something. But the issue is, Rascal Jesters took so much damage through the Dasher ultimate of Orianna, it prevented them from really being able to find anything else. However, it didn't matter because they got that Soul point, and that's what they came for. That's what they wanted, and the fact that their base was just cracked open, Hawks weren't able to play around effectively, and in a more ideal world for the Hawks, they would have done this, but Baron...
Gonna be the start. That last fight, Dasher and Marble were untouched. I know though, is found Kinatsu on the side, gonna try and chase him off. Baron resets. And Ino goes back to play through mid lane. And remember, they do have the Soul, do Rascal Jesters. So much additional damage, so much more difficult to deal with as the Hawks feel like they have to pull back. Reiners will have his back stopped. And now Jesters can start on the Baron. They've had to send multiple people back to try and deal with Tryndamere, and that means they're going to lose this Baron. And Hawks, yes, you've won some fights, but you're just losing out in the objective game, I feel.
Okay. I think, Initialize, it is at that point in this game where either the Hawks will somehow win another team fight, and they get to end probably on that push, or Rascal Jesters are just going to end the game here. I think we're at that point in this game where it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It feels like it. With 42 minutes in this game, this might be the longest game of LJL already this season by a fair bit. I don't remember anything cracking 40 minutes, and the fact that we're beyond 40 is a surprise for me, considering the average game time of around the world has gone longer, but it's not to this extent. But Kinatsu's already seeing the pressure from this Tryndamere.
Yeah, he is. He's having to use the collateral damage to try and escape with the mocking shots coming through, a spinning slash coming afterwards. He's still got the Undying Rage. He doesn't even need to use it. It's a shut down onto the Graves. He's taken low and now in a 4v5. All inhibitors falling. Hawks must try and defend. It is a last stand at the Alamo. And yes, we're on the other side of the world from the States, but it is absolutely that attempt. They must find a way. It's Helm's Deep. It's everything. They're going to get caged. Hatchmaker takes a choice. Ryder goes gold, but he's absolutely blown up. It's another kill for Sol on the Jinx. Final Nexus Tower falls, and down members, down structures, they will fall. And Rascal Jesters in a back and forth, absolutely neck and neck game come out